James. This is why he was able to even get the Bible written, because he was king of so many lands. England, Scotland, and Ireland. You know what I'm saying? And making that Bible was one of the first things they had intact. Because we had already fell in frequency. But now it's just about rounding us up and enslaving us and keeping us enslaved. Keeping us at a low frequency. So, listen to that. His mama was sitting there trying to overthrow the throne, y'all. For 19 years. She eventually get caught and sentenced to death. King James, in order for him to become the king, because he wasn't even the king yet, in order for him to become the king and prove his loyalty, he had to behead his mom. Now, she had already did what she did. But remember, because she was his mom, he had to prove his loyalty to England and all of them. Because she was his mom, people figured like, oh, okay, well, why should we let him become king? Stay with me. Why should we let him become king? And his mom is one of the most known radicals in the land that's always trying to basically pirate her way to the top. Why would we let him become king? Okay, well, we'll let you become king, but you got to prove to us that you down. And guess what King James did? He proved to them he was down. He beheaded his mom just to become king. And that shouldn't shock you, because his mom was just trying to behead her own sister to become queen. See how what goes around comes around? His mom was trying to overthrow family members to become queen. She ended up getting brought up on charges. And her son ends up being the one killing her, because he's just like her. He's lusting for power. So let's get an understanding of who King James right from the womb, who he was right from the womb. And this is the book, The Good Word. The Good Word, so you say, that was named after him. All right? A lot of people don't know that, y'all. A lot of people, you know how many people don't know that King James killed his own mama? But you gonna tell me in the King James version of the Bible, thou shalt not kill, but King James killed his own mama? But I can go to the King James version right now, and it's gonna say thou shalt not kill. But King James killed his own mama, y'all. What type of soul, because he ain't got one, of course, but what type of spirit you gotta have in you to take out your own mama? I don't give a fuck what she do. Nigga, I don't give a fuck how guilty she is. Nigga, I'm not gonna be the one to do it. If it ain't gonna go down on my watch, I'm gonna try to help my mom. This nigga not only did he not help his mom, he personally executed her ass. We're talking about King James. We talking about King James, y'all. I want you to think right now. Why would they name the Bible after somebody that did that? Why would they name the Bible after somebody that did that? Why? Why? Think about it. We thinking. You didn't know that, did you? I know you did. No, you didn't. Y'all didn't know that. I like y'all knew that. Somebody might have, but that's definitely on the low. And if you want to look that article up, you can. You can put it in there. February 8th was when it happened. Go to the History Channel. This day in history. They'll talk about it. See, I know all about the American history, though. I've been told y'all that. That's why I talk the way I talk. I know all these stories already. So I know their story. I know who they are. I know their bloodline, how it trickled down. And you can find out the same shit if you just go back. They document their own bloodline for you, at least. You know what I'm saying? They documented their own shit. Now, they might have hid ours. They documented their shit. All right? Now. Oh, no. We getting deeper. So now that we know that King James killed his own mama, and this is supposed to be the book that the Holy Word was named after, we then move on to find out that King James was a homosexual. Now, do we have anything against homosexuals in here? No, we don't. But the thing is, what most homosexuals need to know is your ancestors wasn't gay. The only reason you gay is because it was forced upon you. So I'm not judging you for what was forced upon you. Some of us, it was forced upon you. Homosexuality was forced upon us. And some people that energy stayed with them. You get what I'm saying? Some people, that energy stayed with them, and some of us, that energy didn't stay with us. But all of us was raped, though. I'm talking on a higher level right now. Let's not forget, all of us was raped. All of us. All of our ancestors was raped. They raped the gods and the goddesses. So whether you was gay or not, back in them days, you was taking dick regardless. Why? Because King James had started homosexuality. And everybody listened to King James. Let's get deeper. So it became the end thing amongst the land. If the king homosexual, everybody with the shit. You see what I'm saying? So let's read about it. Right here it clearly says, the king and his husband, the gay history of British royals. The Washington Post put out an article on it. Go to Washington Post. It's called The King and His Husband, the Gay History of the British Royals. I had to do a little digging, y'all, to pull it up. I'm just pulling up shit to back up what I'm saying. I don't have to pull up they shit, but let's do it today. Right? Now, remember, let's keep in mind, anybody that's gay today, you got carbon in your skin, your ass is only gay because it was forced upon you. I don't care if you're a lesbian. I don't care if you're a homosexual. I don't care if you're transgender. The shit was forced upon you. Nobody was gay anciently, y'all. Nobody was gay anciently. Our species wasn't gay. And I'm not attacking nobody gay. So, though, but you're not finna lie on our history and make it seem like we've been, no, nobody was gay. No, nobody wasn't. And if you gay now, that's okay. Be gay. But understand that was forced upon you. That's all I'm saying. I ain't never judged y'all. But I'm saying where it comes from. Okay? And who started it, though? King James. Okay? But what you need to look at is the intent behind why it was started. King James started homosexuality because he wanted to spread it amongst us, because they wanted to always depopulate us. This is an agenda that started way back and it just started now. Okay? Now, when you think about your modern day homosexual, they not trying to hurt nobody. If it's a gay guy and they got their thing going, they genuinely got their love going, or they got their whatever intimacy going. They not trying to hurt the world. If it's two gay goddesses now, they got their relationship, whatever they got going, they not trying to hurt the world. If it's a transgender, if it's a whatever, they got their shit going, they not trying to really hurt the world. All right? But it was still forced upon y'all. Y'all was born into this shit. But it was a time when there was no homosexuality, no none of that at all. And that was forced upon our species because they wanted to rape the man. It was called buck breeding. Okay, understand, King James started buck breeding. All right? Homosexuality didn't even start amongst the settlers. This is what I'm saying. It wasn't like when homosexuality started, these rich white kings was raping each other. No, they was strictly raping us. That's what I want y'all to know. Hear me clearly. Hear me clearly. Y'all don't hear me. When homosexuality first started, these rich white men was not raping each other. They was only raping the male slaves and the little boys, our sons and shit, man. They wasn't raping each other. They wasn't having sex with each other. It's called buck breeding. They would take a strong guy like myself and would want to rape me in front of my son because I'm strong, and rape me in front of the whole village, in front of all of y'all because I'm sitting here waking y'all up. Because I would have been considered strong in the back in the day, right? And then they would take my son and rape him in front of me and everybody. It's called buck breeding, to break the will of you. This is the original way they started breaking our gods, through raping them anally. This is a hidden history about us. This is facts. Hidden history, man. They was raping the shit out of our ancestors, the gods, man. That's some shit y'all need to know. Some shit they won't tell you in school. It's called buck breeding. Buck breeding. I know, sad, ain't it right? Fucked up. I know it's fucked up. But that's what they did to us, though. Alright, that's what they did to us. Been doing to us, man. They been doing us dirty. They've been doing us dirty a long time, I'm telling y'all. So homosexuality was not like it is today. It was started with the pure intent to not only depopulate us, but to demasculate our gods. To break our will, physically, mentally, and spiritually, so that we wouldn't resist this slavery that they was forcing upon our people. And guess who started it? Guess who signed off on this buck breeding? This raping of all our gods so that we can't defend our women and shit. Guess who started that? King James. Did you know it was legal? It was legal. It was like, if you rape your slaves and shit, or rape any black or Latino with black slaves, it was legal. King James made it a law. It was called bug breeding. Y'all don't hear me. This is why people even start becoming gay amongst us. This is how that shit got passed down. Now today you got people that's naturally, they got that gene in them. They like other men, or they other guys, or they like other guys, but you not knowing where this originally came from though, man. You know? And then they use us for sex shows. Like, they show you pornography now, but who do you think was the first porn flicks? We was. For them though. Y'all don't hear me though. Who do you think was the first porno? We was. They would sit there. It would be that rich king, that rich white racist king, and that rich white racist queen, and they would sit there and they would bring some slaves in, and they would make us have orgies in front of them, and they would jack off to us, and they would play with themselves and watch us. We was the first porn stars for them. Facts. Fact. Oh yeah, this shit run real deep. That's why I be coming like I be coming. We have no clue what they have done to you, man. All right, so King James, he started homosexuality as a weapon used against us originally. And then once they started having sex and raping us, they seen that they liked anal sex. And then they started having sex with each other. Eventually, that's when they started Christmas and started having sex with each other. But when they started homosexuality first, it was used as a tool. Buck breeding. You know what I'm saying? The harness I see in the conquer us to control us. Facts. So, let's read about it a little bit though. This article is about a Washington Post called The King and His Husband and the Gay History of British Royals. Alright, so hold on. Get down to King James. Now pay attention to this. I want y'all to remember that King James was a homosexual because it's going to make sense later in the lecture. But let's read about it. King James, who reigned over Scotland and later England and Ireland until his death in 1625, attracted similar scrutiny for his male favorites, a term used for companions and advisors who had special preference with monarchs. Though James married Anne of Denmark, and had children with her. It has long been believed that James had romantic relationships with 3 men. We're talking about King James. Although King James married Anne of Denmark, I'll say it again, and had children with her, it has long been believed that James had romantic relationships with 3 men. Ashmay Stewart, Robert Carr, and George Villiers, Duke of Buckingham. It's King James we're talking about, y'all. Correspondence between James and his male favorite survivors, and as David M. Morgan theorizes in his book, King James and Letters of Homoerotic Desire, the inscription that moves across the letter spelled desire. James was merely 13 when he met 37-year-old Stuart, and their relationship was met with concern. Okay, so King James says that when he was 13 years old, his first male experience was with a 37-year-old Stuart, which we know would be a motherfucking lie. All right? This is their way of trying to hide his initial purpose for creating homosexuality. They want to make it seem like King James was already getting molested when he was young. You know, the same script they do today. You know? All right? But they say James' favorite boyfriend was Villiers. James met him in his late 40s and several years later promoted him to Duke of Buckingham. See, King James' boyfriend, he loved that boyfriend so good, he promoted him to Duke of Buckingham. You know what I'm saying? He loved the fuck out of that boyfriend. He promoted his ass to the Duke of Buckingham. You hear me? And it says that's an astounding rise for someone of his rank. I'm pretty sure it was. He was getting them cheeks clapped. So shit, he gave him that raise. But anyway, Bergen records the deeply affectionate letters between the two in 1623. In the 1623 letter, King James refers bluntly to marriage and calls Buckingham his wife. So, King James in a letter in 1623 has a letter where he calls this man, his wife. Okay? Let's read the letter out loud. This part, at least of the letter. This is from King James to his lover. I cannot content myself without sending you this present, praying God that I may have a joyful and comfortable meeting with you, and that we may make at this Christmas a new marriage ever to be kept hereafter. I desire to live only in this world for your sake, and that I had rather live banished to any part of the earth with you than live a sorrowful widow's life without you. This is King James' letter to his gay lover. And may so God bless you, my sweet child and wife. So he did call him wife. And grant that ye, there it go. Now y'all know where that ye come from in the Bible. He ye in his ass in this letter too. And grant that ye may ever be a comfort to your dear dad and husband. Right, you didn't even know that ye was homosexual shit. But it was though. And they had us saying that shit as kids and we didn't even know. We not attacking the homosexual community. We just getting down to the facts right now. You know what I'm saying? All that thy and ye and where art thou? Yeah, that's homosexual slick talk. You see what I'm saying? From back in the day, see, we didn't know that. And they got the shit all in the Bible, King James Version. Nigga got his own version of this shit. You hear me? So, that was his letter to his gay lover. So, okay, King James was a homosexual. So, we know he killed his mama. He was a homosexual. Let's keep reading out. Let's keep finding out about who this King James guy was. Let's keep finding out about King James, y'all. And let's not forget he was gay, because that's going to matter later. All right? Let's see. This is the important chapter right here I'm finna read, y'all. So look, I want y'all to know King James' vision. We all know that Great Britain is the world power, right? Like the British royals, right? The British royals, we know about the Queen Elizabeth and them all to this day, right? They're very powerful. They run everything, right? They right under the Vatican, right? So let's find out how Great Britain became unified. King James did that too. That was his vision. Let's read about it. Because you know, right now, the world power is Great Britain, right? Yes, it is. That's the world power, man. It ain't America. The people that run the world that we see is the royals. And the royals check in with the Vatican. All right? The British royals, okay? Great Britain, all right? The United States is owned by Great Britain. Don't ever fucking forget it. All right? Don't ever fucking forget it. Okay? Queen Elizabeth and them own the United States. Don't get this shit misconstrued. That's why when they ask, come over here, they get treated work. They get more security than any president. The president is just that. The president of the fucking company. Not the country, the company. This is the company, not a country. Let's check out King James' vision, though. Let's see if his vision came true. After Queen Elizabeth died in 1603, King James of Scotland was named her successor. And he became King James of England. His new subjects were relieved to avoid civil war and invasion. James had the distinction of being the first monarch to rule both England and Scotland. And it was his greatest ambition to unify the two kingdoms into a single country. Let's read it again. It was what? King James had the distinction of being the first monarch, which means like king, person of power, to rule both England and Scotland. And it was his greatest ambition to unify the two kingdoms into a single country, which he wanted to call Great Britain. Do we or do we not have a Great Britain today? Do we or do we not have a Great Britain today, and is Great Britain not the world power? Pay attention, reflection. That was King James' vision. I think we got a Great Britain today, don't we? All right. Now, he also has went down in history for authorizing, keyword authorizing, he approved. He set this whole shit up for authorizing one of the most famous English translations of the Bible. First published in 1611 and still known today as the King James Bible. Now what I want y'all to know is before 1611, a Bible was never published. Okay? Let's let the record reflect that. Before 1611, the Bible was never published. The Bible was handmade to enslave us. Alright? Handmade to keep us enslaved because they had invaded our planet. When you're talking about Jesus Christ, even if you wanted to believe that he existed, Christianity wasn't around when he was around. Christianity came 200 years after he passed away. We talking about Jesus Christ. The lies, the lies, the lies. Lies, guys. All right, I hope you've seen through these lies right now. I hope you don't want more lies, all right? Let's not get carried away here. Stay focused. Okay. So we know why homosexuality was started now. We know who started it and the purpose behind it. We know that King James killed his mom. He looking kind of iffy right now. All right, he's looking kind of iffy. Now, I told you he owned slaves. He was a pet of Gore. Okay. Now, we finna get a little deeper. King James is also the one that allowed Willie Lynch to come to the Americas and teach these slave owners how to keep their slaves enslaved mentally. That was King James that did that. Remember, where was the Willie Lynch letter given at? On the Jamestown River. Let's see what year. Let's see what year. I'll Google right now. Let's go to Google. What year was the Willie Lynch letter created? Let's Google. Oh, so I went to it. The famous Willie Lynch speech. Wikipedia clearly says the Willie Lynch speech is an address purportedly delivered by a certain William Lynch to an audience on the bank of the James River in Virginia in 1712 regarding control of slaves within the colony. Now let's click on the James River. Why is it the James River? The James River is a river in the U.S. state of Virginia that begins in the Appalachian Mountains and flows 348 miles to Chesapeake Bay. The river length extends to 444 miles. The numbers ain't by coincidence. 444-mile river. If one includes the Jackson River, the longer of its two source tributaries. It is the longest river in Virginia. Jamestown and Williamsburg, Virginia's first colonial capitals, and Richmond, Virginia's current capital, lie on the James River. All right? Why is it called the James River? Because it's named after King James in Jamestown. Facts. History. It says right here, the Native Americans who populated the area east of the fall line in the late 16th and early 17th centuries called the James River the Powhatan River. It was called the Powhatan River at first. This is where Pocahontas came from. The whole story of Pocahontas was up in New York. The Powhatan tribe was in New York. And it was a real tribe, and they came and they really did that to us. And the Powhatans was black, because the Indians black. And that's why I was telling you right here that the James River, the original name of the James River was the Powhatan River. But after they took over and conquered, after they killed Pocahontas, right? That's where the story of Pocahontas come from. And Chief Powhatan and all the Powhatans, they renamed the river, right, to the Jamestown River because the Jamestown colonists moved in and they became Jamestown. It say the Jamestown colonists named it James after King James of England as they constructed the first permanent English settlement in the Americas. So once again, just like I said, King James was also the one who had Willie Lynch come over and teach these slaves how to remain enslaved. That's why he wanted Willie Lynch to go over there, because he supported that. All right. Yeah, it get deep. So now not only do you have a man who killed his own fucking mama just to become king, he beheaded her, but then you got a person that created homosexuality as a way to enslave black men and demasculate them so that they wouldn't be strong enough to protect their women and their kids, so that it would be easier to take over and control them. You got this man that's also allowed the most corrupt source of thinking, which was the Willie Lynch speech, which is what they still use to this day, all right, by dividing us, putting young against old, black against strong against weak. Like, the Willie Lynch speech is all about division, but King James was the one that orchestrated that, all right? So that's why our people is where we are today. So he's responsible for the destruction of our people on a lot of levels. And then you turn around and name the Bible after him. Okay? This is King James, y'all, who the Bible is named after, who all this is about. But let's go one deeper. Let's go a little deeper. Let's find out more about King James. Let's go. James proved to be a true enthusiast of the theater. Just a few months after assuming the throne, he officially adopted Shakespeare's company. Okay? He officially adopted Shakespeare's company. With the sponsorship of the king, the Lord Chamberlain's man became known as the king's man. All the king's men. Y'all heard that saying before. That's where it come from. For his part, Shakespeare, pay attention, Shakespeare. So, because I want y'all to pay attention to how it's saying all of a sudden, he just adopted Shakespeare's company, King James. Keep that in mind. With the sponsorship of the king, the Lord Chamberlain's man became known as the king's man. For his part, Shakespeare welcomed the new king with Macbeth. Now, Macbeth is a story that's all about King James, and it's a classic in literature, Macbeth, all right? And they said that Shakespeare, with that, the whole story about Macbeth was a gift from Shakespeare to King James. So he basically supposed to wrote this book about King James' life. Shakespeare. And if you go read the Macbeth shit, it was so fucking detailed. And King James said he never talked to Shakespeare, yet Shakespeare knew all this about his life. Stay with me now. Stay with me now. We finna get deeper. All right. So Shakespeare welcomed the new king with Macbeth, written around 1606. Let's keep these dates. It's not too far when we 1606. At the same time that's going on, they over there setting up the Jamestown River. That was around 1611. All right, all this is going on thanks to King James. He's single-handedly destroying the world right now. King James is doing this. All right. Macbeth is set in James' native Scotland, and the play portrays the king's real life ancestor Banquo as a good man destined to have monarchs among his descendants. Macbeth's famous witches also appeal to the king's interests. Now check this out. Another thing y'all didn't know about King James. King James had a long fascination with witchcraft, and he considered himself an expert on the subject. So now this nigga was fucking with sorcery. I'll read it again. King James had a long, outstanding fascination with witchcraft, and he considered himself an expert on the subject. In 1597, he wrote a book about witchcraft called Demonology. Let's pull it up. Hold on, y'all. King James wrote a whole book, y'all, about witchcraft called Demonology. Let's look it up. I just Googled King James witch book and it popped right up. Look. Demonology by King James. And it's all about witchcraft. And remember, I taught y'all, it's called magic. Because we live in an electromagnetic realm, a magnetic realm. But when you use magic for bad, what is it called, class? Witchcraft and sorcery. A feminine entity using witchcraft for bad would be considered a witch. A masculine entity using magic for bad would be considered a sorcerer. Right? A male entity using magic for good would be considered a magician. And a guy and a female entity using magic for good would be considered the same thing, a magician. So now you find out not only did King James chop his mama head off, but he was into witchcraft. He wrote a whole book on this shit. Alright? And they say in the book, Shakespeare likely consulted when writing the witches' spells in Macbeth. In two later plays, King Lear and Chamberlain, Shakespeare appears to support James' desire to unite England and Scotland. So check this out. Not only that, William Shakespeare also supports King James' desire to unite England and Scotland as one, which means they become Great Britain, which they later became. Both plays are set in the ancient and semi-mythical period in which England and Scotland had been a single country known as Britain, which they later become in real life. In King Lear, the decision to divide Britain into three separate kingdoms has terrible consequences, which some scholars have read as a warning that implicitly justifies James' vision of the unification. All right, so what we have here is we find out that King James was involved in witchcraft, and this the nigga who wrote the fucking Bible, who picked the scholars. Didn't I tell you it was all type of sorcery in the Bible? Didn't I tell y'all it was all type of sorcery in the Bible? You could buy King James' book, Demonology, right now. He was a known witch. And you know he practiced negative witchcraft if his ass had slaves. And he created homosexuality to hurt us. And he cut his mama head off to become the king. This is King James. Your King James version of the Bible. The guy who created the Bible, who wrote it. That's why it's first. Fuck the King James version first. No. It's first because it's the Bible they fucking that he created. Now, I want y'all to notice that him and Shakespeare had a lot in common. You know why? Because William Shakespeare was King James. King James' alias was Shakespeare. That's another thing people don't know. That's why they all of a sudden he adopted him. They never was never seen together though, but they had so much in common. Now I want y'all to check these death dates. Now King James had two aliases. He was Shakespeare and he was also Francis Bacon. Now watch this. Watch this, y'all. Watch this, y'all. When did King James die? It say King James died after suffering a stroke, March 27th, 1625. King James died, March 27th, 1625. Now let's look up when William Shakespeare died. When did Shakespeare die? April 23rd, 1616, a few years before King James did. But check out the way Shakespeare died. Shakespeare's burial is recorded in Stratford Parish, registered on April 25th, 1616. We do not know the cause of Shakespeare's death. He made a will on March 25th, almost a month before he died, in which he describes himself as in perfect health and memory, God and in godly praise. No, because King James Shakespeare was his alias, and Francis Bacon too. So he killed his Shakespeare alias off a few years before he passed away. Hold on, now check this out. Check this out. We ain't done. Let's go to Francis Bacon. When did Francis Bacon die? Who I'm telling y'all is King James' other alias. Francis Bacon died 1626. Wow. So you telling me Shakespeare died 1616, supports the same ideas, the same identical life as King James. They was never seen together. But they telling you Shakespeare helped King James write the Bible and Psalms and all that. Shakespeare died 1616. King James died 1625. And then Francis Bacon, who was King James' other alias, died 1626. Now let's see who was Francis Bacon. We on Francis Bacon now. Watch how all their stories line up. Check this out. Who was Francis Bacon? He was on the monarchy with King James. On the monarchy with King James, Francis Bacon was. Now check this out. Bacon has been called the father of empiricism. He argued for the possibility of scientific knowledge based upon inductive reasoning and careful observation of events in nature. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Francis Bacon was a patron of libraries and developed a system for cataloging books, history, poetry, and philosophy. So Francis Bacon was one of the first people to start documenting history, poetry, and philosophy. How ironic. How ironic. And Francis Bacon is King James' alias, but notice what he's doing though. Francis Bacon is known for tampering with history. So now King James tampered with history through Francis Bacon alias and poetry and philosophy. Then he came and helped write the Bible through Shakespeare. And then he came at you with the Bible through as King James and put his version on it. And then set up the slavery, set up the Jamestown River invasion. The first settlement was the people that came and named it Jamestown. This was all King James doing this, y'all. This a dirty motherfucker, wasn't he? That's what we finding out. This nigga King James was a motherfucking thug. Raping kids, eating kids, started homosexuality, killed his own mama. Alright, check this out. Bacon was the first recipient of the Queen Council designation. After the accession of he was knighted by King James. They say Francis Bacon had no heirs to the throne and none of that, and that he died of pneumonia. Let's keep going about Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon, looking at his career, all this shit line up with King James, man. He was even on the monarchy of King James. Now, this is what I want y'all to peep, right? Now, King James had two aliases. He hid behind Francis Bacon and Shakespeare. And the last thing that's finna let you know that he hid behind him is because Shakespeare was also gay and Francis Bacon was gay as well. So these are the things that you got in common. They lives were identical. They was all on King James staff and they all died around the same time and they all was gay. How is that possible? That's because King James, Francis Bacon and Shakespeare were his two aliases that he hid behind when he was doing other shit that affected history. He was a dirty motherfucker, man. You know what I'm saying? And this is who you are giving your energy to when they teaching us to believe in the Bible. He created that whole shit. He created it. All right. He was a very evil mother spirit. You feel me? Very evil spirit. King James was. That's what this means. But check this out. Despite his marriage, just like Shakespeare and fucking King James, ironically, Francis Bacon was primarily attracted to man. So we find out who King James really was tonight, Reflections. So when I'm telling you to come out the Bible and how it was used, it's full of sorcery and spells. The guy who created it was heavy into witchcraft. A lot of y'all ain't know that. A lot of y'all didn't know tonight that he beheaded his own mama just to get ahead. What type of spirit you gotta be? Would you follow behind me if I killed my own mama? So why we follow behind that fucking book? Nigga, you put this book in this nigga name and he did all this shit. He made the book. And then he had two aliases, Francis Bacon and Shakespeare. And behind their name, he did other dirt. Dirty bastard he was. I'm just gonna expose this whole ass tonight for who he was. We right back here tomorrow for the lecture on Chief Chicago. Feel free to go to the forum and comment. That's what I want y'all to do too. After these lectures, go to the forum. Flood the forum with like y'all opinions about the election. And if y'all receive the downloads, like I'll be reading it. I read it sometimes. Like go in there. You know what I'm saying? Because that builds the community up in here. It's all y'all in here. Tonight we got 6,500 people. We didn't hit 7K. We had 60. We did 6,500 max. The highest right now we at 6,438 live viewers. So we did a great job again tonight. 6,500 live people. So I love y'all, man. I hope y'all take this download in deeply. Let your family see it. Once again, if you didn't see this live, once I end it, it's gonna say you gotta rent it, and it's gonna be like that. Tomorrow gonna be the last day to load the website open free. After that, you're gonna have to pay the $33, which is better because you pay the $33 and all these videos gonna be free. Because tomorrow the last day is free, and then all members is gonna be back Sunday. It'll be back closed off. It'll be back closed. It'll be back private. So once it's back private, all the class lectures gonna be free again like they normally be. All right. So we all on one page. I appreciate y'all. It was a beautiful day today. Let's have another beautiful day tomorrow. Let's keep building, y'all. Let's stay focused. With that being said, peace to the guys. The guys of Planet Kai. Got more Cash App giveaways coming. More subscription giveaways. We just building it any way we can amongst ourselves. I seen a couple of the other guys do some giveaways. Yes, let's build. Let's circulate the dollars amongst ourselves. Let's build. We a family here. I love y'all. I leave as I come. I want to see y'all tomorrow, man.